And what does Daddy do for a job?
Daddy job.
This is Isabel Cudby, and like millions of others, her parents juggle work and being parents. I'm Liz Morris. Join me as I talk to leading experts, as well as working mothers and fathers, to find some top tips to help us all balance our lives. Let's start by looking at just why work-life balance is so important.
People need a positive life balance for their own well-being. If you're out of balance, so you're working too hard, you become tired, your health, both mental and physical, can suffer. That's bad for you, it's bad for your family and friends and relationships, and it's bad for the people that you're working for.
It's now the norm in the UK for dependent children to have both parents working. And depending on which statistics you take, somewhere between 30 and 45% of women earn the same or more than their partners. Life has intensified, and this is having a huge impact on our well-being and stress levels. Negative stress is now the number one reason for workplace absence in the UK, and even when not absent, stressed out workers find it difficult to concentrate. According to research, negative stress reduces our performance by up to 43%. And prolonged negative stress has an impact on our well-being, with mental health costing the UK economy somewhere between 70 and 100 billion pounds a year. So, can things change? I spoke with two leading experts, Duncan Fisher and Amanda Alexander.
But I think it is changing because I think more and more there are certain big social shifts going on. Women and men partner in their own social groups. So generally speaking, most men are partnered with women who are equally or better qualified than they are, and with an earning potential that goes with it. So there's a sense in which the economics is driving, is basically saying, actually you can't just subcontract it. It doesn't work economically. You can't divide it that way. I think there's change amongst a lot of women who are starting to say, well, my work-life balance, he's part of it, and there's much more now out there gradually about the importance and value of the bond that we have with our children, and that applies to men as well. And the more the neuroscience comes out, the more the work on the biology of parenting and what it does to men, the more we understand that actually that's very profound. When you're missing your child, that is something telling you that that's out of balance.
So how can we as parents find a good work-life balance?
Recognise that you can't change very much. But when you start changing the bits that you can change, it has a ripple effect. It changes the way that other people operate around you, and the space gets bigger. Don't obsess about the things you cannot change, because it just makes you miserable. There are little things that we can all change, always, for all of us. Just making time, for example, to get home 2 hours early on one day and to take the children from school. Wednesday is ice cream with Daddy Day. And that will be part of their story for the rest of their life.
Sometimes we have to accept that you can't be in two places at once. And even though we say our children come first and our children are important, actually sometimes it might be that you can't attend that thing at school, and that's okay. And you're beating yourself up because you can't be in two places at once. Where is the logic in that? And the thing about juggling is ultimately you're going to drop one of the balls. Even a master juggler will drop one of the balls.
The science of parenting, the anthropology and the neuroscience and the biology that has been investigated in the last 20 years, and the picture that's giving us is that human parenting is very much a collective activity. It's a team activity. It always has been. The principles are really about how the team functions, not who the team is. And time alone together away from the children is part of parenting.
So related to that, my top tip is that you can't do it alone. And for women now, trying to do it all and feeling that it is their responsibility and that they cannot ask for help is simply ridiculous. You will never get work-life balance or any sort of balance if you think you can do it all and you try to do it all. You will just burn out.
So, how can we put these principles into practice?
I'm married with 2 children, one who will soon be 8 and one who will soon be 4. I've tried a number of different ways of working. I think that the key to it is being flexible. And if something doesn't work, not saying, oh, that just doesn't work, it's awful, but actually just thinking a little bit more about how could I do this differently to try and make it work. I think talk to other parents. I think but when we're at work, we tend to feel that everybody else is coping and everyone else is managing, and if they can work full time, why can't I? But actually you don't know what they're doing or what their circumstances are. What does work? What could take some of that guilt and that conflict away, that puts you in a place that when you're working, and when you're at home, and you get the best of both.
Yeah, it's about having an open and honest discussion with the people at work, as well as back home with my family, my wife.
There's a growing body of evidence that shows that an honest, trusting relationship with your line manager is key to successful, flexible working.
Agency life throws a lot of curveballs at you, particularly for me when we're working towards a new business opportunity. It can often be really quite focused work, quite tight deadlines. So I tend to, I've learned the hard way, texting my wife at 7 o'clock to say I'm going to be late home when she was expecting me at 6 and didn't really work. So I've really learned to kind of highlight things before they happen. And I think having that advance notice, especially with young children, just makes all the difference, because you can prepare everyone at home that is something's going to happen. But then equally, if I'm equally prepared to say to work, I've got commitments with my family, so I do nursery pickups and drop-offs, and we have that great relationship with my manager and my team to be able to sort of flex my hours. So there's so much to be gained from being there every morning and every evening, that I'd never change it for anything really.
I used to commute to Worthing. I would still spend a couple of hours every day on the train. And yeah, when I had the chance to get a job in Brighton, I just went for it, and I think that was one of the wisest decisions I've ever made. I used to work full time. I work part time now. I work 3 days a week. I mean, the reason behind this was so I could support more my family. Both me and my wife, we come from foreign countries, so we don't really have any other family support here. So it's quite important to make sure that we kind of both share all the responsibilities, because it's not just about the financial support. There's other types of support which are equally important, and yeah, it works really well for all of us. And then my wife doesn't feel this pressure that she always has to be available. So in a way, we are both available if something happens, and with a little bit of planning, it works out quite nicely, I think.
According to the Office of National Statistics, we're commuting less frequently. 19% of workers are not making a regular commute at all, and the number of people working from home has increased by 25%.
Because I'm in the unique position of being an HR manager and a working mum at iCrossing, so I kind of see two sides of the coin, as it were. From a personal point of view, it means not making any compromises on my role as being a mum, and so I want to know that if anything goes wrong at home, I can go home to sort it out without it having any detriment on my job at work. It allows me to work flexibly. I've got a really understanding boss who will let me take time off if my children are sick without having to take it off as official leave. So I really think it's about give and take.
What's really important to me is being there to pick my daughter up from school. I pick them up in the afternoons, allows us to avoid the cost of wraparound childcare. And the big benefit is that I'm there as a dad, and it's great picking up my daughter from school.
Increasingly, organisational leaders are recognising the positive impact and need for good work-life balance.
Work-life balance to our staff, to our business is vitally important, for the simple reason that the world has just changed. Everything's become kind of 24/7. So that's the real world, and that's the world in which we're recruiting people, and that's the world in which we're employing people. So if we don't have policies and working frameworks that allow people to work for National Grid in the way that they're living out in the real world, guess what? We're not going to be a very attractive place to come and work, and we're not going to be a very easy place to work as well. So frankly, we just need to keep ahead of the game on this one and be much more reflective of the modern society in which we live, and stop worrying so much about historical rules around how this stuff should work. You know, if you've got well-motivated employees who've got clear objectives to deliver, you know what outputs they're going to get, the result on that, then you can be very, very flexible in the way they work and where they work and the times in which they work as well.
The fact is, everybody who works has personal responsibilities. So to us, that's incredibly important to recognise that all employees come to work and they have those cares and concerns with them at all times. We're in a professional services organisation, and that we know that high demands of longer hours has a significant impact, and it's quite common in our industry. And it's not just long hours that has an impact, there's also temporary work overload. If a manager recognises and is compassionate about somebody who works in their team and the demands that they have outside of work, it goes both ways, because if you can accommodate and be flexible, then you get the return, and it's that give and take that works extremely well.
We need a good balance in our lives for our well-being, to be able to focus and thrive at work, and ultimately enjoy good relationships at home. I'll leave the last word to Isabel.
And do you like that Daddy picks you up from school?
Yeah.
Why do you like Daddy picking you up from school?
Because I love my daddy.
Any other reason?
Not really.
If you are a working parent or a business leader wanting to support working parents, please get in touch with Working Families. Working Families is a registered charity.